Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, What About Babe? We are on part 3 of growing up in the 90s, and what was our topic?
Oh man, today is fast food. Well, not necessarily just fast food, but just like food in general that we, like restaurants and stuff that we went to in the 90s that may or may not be still around. Some aren't,
Yeah,
some
sadly.
are. So,
Do you have like a top one that comes to your mind?
well, I remember a lot of times. So, I think I'd mentioned this before, where when I was real young, we would every time we went to go get groceries, like once or twice a month, there was this Price Mart that we would go to, and right next door was a Little Caesars, and we would go there as a special treat.
Yeah.
But that was like my parents had car loans and home loan, and they were trying to pay it off, and so they were pinching every penny that they could.
Yeah.
My dad was a teacher, he was a coach, and he got his bus driver's license so he could get paid extra to drive the bus for the team. Like he was getting every little bit of extra money that he could just to pay off that loan faster. And because of that, we didn't have a whole lot of extra to do restaurants. There's a lot of cheap home cooking. But every now and then we got to go out and have some pretty good stuff. But the Little Caesars was a treat. But then, like, I remember one of our, like, we're treating ourselves kind of things was going out to, like, Mazio's for salad bar and pizza.
Yeah, not that many people dine in pizza places. Some of them, if not most of them, don't allow dine-in. But back then, like,
back
that was
then,
fancy.
like, dine-in was the only way to go for pizza. I mean, like, unless you were doing some sort of get-together at your house with people, you went to the pizza restaurant and ate there, because they had arcades in the pizza place for the kids, and so it was kind of a big deal. And I remember my parents would always get the salad bars, and they would let me. They would get me one so I could have that, and then we'd all split a pizza.
Yeah.
And
I can see that. Yeah. I think
it was always thin crust too. Like, I like home style, like hand tossed pizza. But growing up, it was always like thin crust only.
Well, that's the thing with parents, and I think we even mentioned that with like our favorite foods and stuff. I think it was part 1, I believe. And like your parents had those favorites, and like you couldn't strain from that because they were the ones buying it.
My parents were never big on Pizza Hut because they felt it was too greasy compared to Mazio's. Mazio's was not nearly as greasy back then.
Which is funny. I have to agree, but then I'm also that girl that's like the next day pizza, the leftover, and so that's when it like kind of soaked it. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
So my parents would only get pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, you were telling them about that.
I got so stinking burnt out on pepperoni pizza that the few times that I was allowed to choose anything extra, I had to get. I love sausage pizza. So if I wanted sausage pizza, I had to get a sausage and pepperoni pizza with both toppings on it, with like the coupon, so that it was the same price as the single topping, just so I would be able to get the sausage I wanted. But they wouldn't do it without pepperoni, and so I just got so burnt out on pepperoni, and I got burnt out on tomato sauce too. Like spaghetti, whenever my mom would make spaghetti, it was always red sauce. Pizza, always red sauce.
Right.
Horrible heartburn. Oh. And so, I got burnt out on red sauce.
Oh, yeah.
But in any case, then I also remember rib crib.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that that's kind of a regional thing, rib crib. Well, for that matter, Mazio's was too, because so Mazio's was originally a chain called Ken's Pizza, and it started in Tulsa.
Yeah. And
Ken's blew up all around Oklahoma, and all the small towns had a Ken's Pizza, and the sauce was a little bit spicier. The red sauce on it was a little bit spicier, and it had more flavor. But then they decided to go outside of our region, and when they did that, they changed the name of almost all of them, except for the small ones in the small towns, to Mazio's because it was more marketable. And then they changed the sauce to be less spicy. If you've been to a Mazio's in the last few years, you may have noticed that they've added a little section on the menu that says Ken's style pizza. So you can order it with the spicier sauce like they used to have.
Yeah.
But rib crib, same thing. They actually did start in Tulsa, but and they grew into a large chain and really good barbecue. Pretty consistent usually across all the stores, and they have great onion rings. And there's some off-menu items these days that used to be on the menu. So you had like the Barbarito, like a barbecue wrap, and then they had a Carolina pulled pork wrap. So the Carolina pulled pork sandwich, imagine all the stuff in that, the pulled pork, the coleslaw, the lettuce, the tomato, put all that into a wrap and put some Carolina mustard on it.
Yeah.
And that's what that wrap is.
See, I never really got to go to those kind of places like in the 90s. I feel like there was very limited amount. I think in the 90s, if we went out, I'm going to say fancy, like with the whole family and like extended family, it was like diners. Like you're sitting there for hours drinking coffee, getting a burger, kind of thing. I do think the biggest one, and they are not open anymore except for in Colorado.
Oh, Casa Bonita.
Casa Bonita. And I'm pretty sure if you're from Oklahoma, you are sharing the sadness with us, but that was our favorite. And all these people with like menu hacks, no. We had the best menu hack. Because if you don't know what Casa Bonita is, you can look them up. There is a location that I think
it's in like Denver or something like that.
Yeah, and like the creators of South Park has invested in it. I'm just saying that's why that one's still open. But it was a Mexican restaurant, the best Mexican food. But you would like walk through like this little line, and then when you would get there, you would order your food. Well, you would order if you're wanting like an all-you-can-eat or an actual meal. And 2 of my family members would always get an all-you-can-eat. The rest of us would get like a really cheap meal. And the waiters and waitresses knew. They did not care. So you would come back to a table like 4 or 5 times going, oh, you want 4 more tacos. Oh, you want enchiladas. And they didn't care. You got the best food. And those sopapillas, I'm sorry, those sopapillas, I didn't even put honey on it. I put queso on it. That's how good it was.
Oh, that's another one. So I remember when I was a kid, there's this chicken restaurant called Rex's. It did temporarily come back for a little bit here recently, but it shut back down. But back in the day, it was like a chicken restaurant that had nuggets that were just as good as Chick-fil-A or any of those, like it very similar taste.
Great jalapeno chicken.
But they had jalapeno chicken. So they would batter and fry sliced pickled jalapenos with the chicken nuggets, and oh my gosh, closest thing that I can think of to it is if you go to a Ron's and order the jalapeno chicken.
Ron's is pretty similar.
But the difference is that instead of a biscuit or a roll, they had Indian fry bread.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never had Indian fry bread, oh man, you are missing out.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is like the best pillow of melt in your mouth goodness.
If you've had an Indian taco, that's basically what the fry bread is.
It's that bread underneath that's really good.
They would serve them like little small biscuits.
Yeah, it's like a little pillow about yay big.
Little circle.
And you poke a hole in the end and you just pour some honey in there and it's piping hot.
Right.
I mean, better than Krispy Kreme.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, guys. It's better than Krispy Kreme. But yeah, so I remember that growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I think one restaurant, and you're probably going to find them throughout different states, but every location, even if it's in the same state, tastes completely different. Still really good is Coney Islands.
Oh, yeah.
Coney Islands, we still to this day go and eat them, but there's certain locations that we go to. One that is in Tulsa that we absolutely love. That was one I used to go to ever since I was little. And I even remember during my parents' divorce, my dad actually came and got me. He said, well, what do you want to do for your birthday? I want to go to Coney Island, you know?
So just to clarify for you guys, most of you that are not in certain specific locations in the U.S. have no idea what a coney is. Mm-hmm. It's a hot dog, but it's smaller. Mm-hmm. So the whole hot dog is about yay big with the bun, but the hot dog's probably about this big around, and it's just the length of the bun, but it's steamed. Mm-hmm. And then they put it on a flat top griddle and grill the outsides. Mm-hmm. And then they've got a real finely shredded cheese that they put on top. Mm-hmm. And they put chili. Yeah. Now, this chili is a ground beef chili. Mm-hmm. And it has some spices and onions in it. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have as much cumin as the hot dog chili that you get at the store in the can. It's a lot more of just the meat, the ground beef that's real fine granules, and it's got some grilled onions and some onion powder.
They do sneak in a little bit of cinnamon, though.
So Coney Island sneaks in a little bit of cinnamon into it as a savory thing. Not all Coney places do that, but certain ones do. Yeah. Coney Island does. And so, and then they take the onions and they chop them up really minced fine. And they put it all on there. Some people put mustard on there too, but really, really good.
They always look simple, but let's just give you an image that if you go to the right kind of Coney Island, when you get up, you're going to have shredded cheese all over you.
Yeah, so like if you order 3 of these,
so amazing.
They're going to have chili piled high on each one, and there's going to be so much cheese you can't see the bun. Like you have to kind of dig through to find the edge of the bun.
You always
so
get
you
a spoon so you can eat some of the cheese before you eat a coney.
Well, you have to have a spoon to clean up afterwards too. So, yeah.
But yeah,
that's a childhood memory for me because so my dad had this lawn mowing business and we'd go mowing lawns all the time, and so whenever a lot of times on Saturdays we would go to the Coney place, and there was this one Coney place called Coney Depot, and they had big screen TVs and they'd play John Wayne movies all day long, and I remember they went from a couple big projection TVs and some smaller ones to having the flat screens that were the plasma ones that you had to flip every... Flat screen TVs, the big ones, when they first came out, LCD was not the cheap one. Yeah. The plasmas were the affordable ones. And you had to, every year, you were supposed to flip it upside down and you'd switch a setting inside the options because the plasma was just like a gas, and slowly over time it would leak more to the bottom, so the colors would get really strong at the bottom and really faded at the top. Mm-hmm. So you had to make sure and flip it so it never did that. But in any case, so I remember eating Coney's a lot.
Mm-hmm. I know one thing, and I wasn't even thinking of this earlier when we were like reviewing restaurants, but when I was younger, we still have at least one location in Oklahoma that I know of. Taco Tico. Did you ever go to Taco Tico?
Rarely, but I remember going a few times.
Taco Tico and Taco Mayo. I'm going to put them both in the same thing.
We went to a number of times. I really liked their tamales, and I liked their salsa bar. Mm-hmm. There's still one left.
There's multiple ones. There's one in Tulsa. There's one I know that's in Okmulgee.
Yep, and now there's another one that if you're coming straight north out of OKC and you get on the highway to go over into Ponca City, I believe that there's one there. I'm not sure if it's still open, but that one was still old school, even in the like 2012, 2014 time period. It still looked like the ones in like the 90s, the early 90s, you know, so.
Yeah, like the old Whataburgers. Well, see, the good thing with Taco Mayo and Taco Tico is that it was very affordable. Taco Tico I used to love because you would get like a bag of tacos. Like, I can't even tell you how many. Bag of tacos for very cheap, and like some fast food taco places, I don't really like their salsa, but with those, it was so good, but they tasted better the next day. Now, Taco Mayo, they would have like this, is it 10 for 10?
Oh, yeah.
It was 10 for 10, and they had what they called the taco burger, and it was just like the softest bun. I guess it was like a steamed bun.
I never had that one.
You did? Oh, it like had like this very minced up ground beef, cheese, and then you would just put the, I think they had their own taco seasoning, like on the potato locos.
Yeah.
So good. But you would put their salsa on it, and it was so much heaven. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad we ate before we started filming.
Oh, this would be torture if we hadn't.
Oh yeah. I would have been like, hey, road trip. Mary wouldn't mind us coming out to Okmulgee, right? We could just go stop at Taco Mayo.
And you remember Grandy's?
I remember seeing Grandy's by like the bowling alley, but I don't think I ever actually went.
Grandy's, the best way I can explain it
Denny's?
Is if you made a KFC into a fine dining restaurant.
Oh, I was expecting it to be like a Denny's or something.
So like
a diner.
It was like a nicer, like they had a lot of chicken type of foods. So it's like when you think of like sitting down to a Thanksgiving fried chicken, mashed potato, green bean type of meal.
Yeah.
On the bone, off the bone, either way, you know, when you think about that, that's what Grandy's was like. So it was like going to grandma's kitchen. They literally had a grandma on some of their logo stuff, if I remember right, but it was supposed to be like grandma's kitchen. And you had like Village Inn, diner.
Which sadly, I think all of the ones near us have closed.
You remember Taco Cabana?
You were mentioning that to me the other day. I can remember seeing them. I never got to go inside.
So good. They had those tortillas that were kind of chewy and kind of stretched because they got like the lard in them. And
you know what? No one really looked into that.
That was before that was a problem.
Good food. Oh my goodness. Now, did you ever go to a Ryan's Steakhouse?
I didn't, but I remember that there was one at like the 71st and Memorial area.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the location, but I remember...
I may have gone once.
Yeah.
But we didn't go to like the buffets like Golden Corral or anything very often.
Well, see, Ryan's was like a steakhouse / buffet. But when you went in there, if you wanted steak, you ordered like the steak dinner. If you want a buffet, you order the buffet. And it wasn't a lot of like nowadays where it's like stuff that's sitting there for so long. It was true fine dining.
Kind of like what a Western sizzling would be. Yeah.
And I remember my parents talking about that, but I can't remember it.
Yeah.
So if we ever went, it was when we were little, and that was when we were below the age to have the discounts.
So back then was the heyday of El Chico. So that was when El Chico was the bomb. It was not too oily. It was some of the best Tex-Mex that you could get.
Besides Casa Bonita, that was the Mexican food place.
Yeah. And if you wanted Mexican fast food, you went to Taco Bueno. And Taco Bueno was really good in the 90s, and then they fell off, and everybody was like, man, this tastes like cardboard.
That's coming back.
The queso tasted like cardboard. Literally. I don't know how you do that. And everything just tasted horrible. And then a few years ago, a Hispanic guy, a Hispanic billionaire down in Texas, bought Taco Bueno back, or he bought them out, and he has spent the last few years fixing all that, and now all of a sudden their food tastes amazing again.
See, I have a funny story with the Bueno thing in the 90s. See, we had a huge family and stuff, and we used to get together for all cousins' birthdays and stuff. But, having a lot of kids and stuff, you never really wanted to... they didn't have a lot of food there. They had cake and ice cream, but they didn't always have snacks. So I remember my parents going through the drive-thru at Bueno before going to a birthday party. And, heads up, pretty sure none of my cousins watch my YouTube channel. But that would be funny because I still remember it was one birthday that I can remember. We went through the drive-thru at the one in Tulsa on Sheridan. And that was when they were still open. I think they closed. But we got that party burritos, and Dad's like, all right, eat up before we go to the birthday party. And then we get there and we're not hungry for cake, but we had to eat a piece anyway. But that's the stuff. The 90s was when there were actual value menus.
The value menu was not called the value menu back then. It was called the dollar menu.
Yes.
Because everything was actually $1.
$1. Or multiple things for $1. It was not 3 or 5 or anything like that.
Yeah. They didn't play those games back then. So I miss being able to get a cheeseburger for $1 at McDonald's.
Yeah. I mean, we understand we can't go back to 50 cents. But
$3, $3.30.
Yeah.
And you could get a burger, a cheeseburger. Fries, small fries, and a small drink for $3.30 about.
Yeah.
And so if you had $3, you knew that you could eat.
See, I feel like you and I have this conversation even in our own, working field and stuff like that. We just feel like sometimes it sucks to lower prices, but if you lower prices, look at the amount of people that would come. Because you look at all these people, look at people that are just trying to make ends meet. And if they just had that $1,
I like the way that they quoted. There was this quote that I saw is McDonald's forgot where it came from and who it serves. It's supposed to be, it doesn't have to taste good. It's meant to, that if you have $5 to last you till Friday, you know that you're going to eat something for lunch every day.
Oh my gosh, this is making me think of the Founder movie, and I get mad. If you have not watched that movie about the beginning of McDonald's, you should watch it because it's good to know, and it helps you have value in businesses starting out. But you will get so mad. Have you watched it yet?
No. I've seen parts of it, but...
He will get mad. I will not be able to watch it with you. But it just tells you that if you look back at the beginning with the people that truly started McDonald's, you would understand why we think, hey, having that value, because then if you bring the prices down to something that even lower income families can afford and not even have to worry about food stamps, just be able to afford with loose change, you could have less employees but pay them more. You know, we're getting really off topic.
Yep. But you remember like some of the I know like Chuck E. Cheese's was real big back then. Only went there a few times. Yeah. The pizza wasn't really memorable to me.
Like I said, I think in one of the other ones, my parents said that I went to a birthday party once. I really can't remember it. I can mainly only remember like the food at McDonald's for birthday parties. Like I really.
Oh, and by the way, Domino's did not taste as good back then as it does now. It was like, you know how Little Caesars is now? How it's like the junk cheap pizza? That's what Domino's was back then. They redid everything a few years back.
Yeah.
That's when they started tasting a lot better, but it was not... Pizza Huts were totally different on the inside and stuff. And
I think it was always fancy because when you went to an inside of a pizza place back then, like if you did get soda, because we would have like a full family of people, and they sold 2 liters, but instead of like a plain 2 liter, they brought you out a pitcher.
Oh yeah,
a clear pitcher with like your Pepsi, and then you'd pour it in the glass, and you just felt, oh my gosh, like
you remember the cherry Coke at Mazzio's? Oh man, yeah. That was my jam.
I know we were talking about like value and getting cheaper deals. I know we were talking about that earlier. Is that Brahms and Arby's was a big thing, because I used to go to Brahms like
back
all the
when
time
Arby's was actually an affordable place to go.
Arby's, and then don't get me started on Weight Watchers with Arby's. Sorry, but anyways, Arby's used to have, and they still bring it back from time to time. They started back in the 90s with the whole 5 for 5 or 5 for 5.55.
Something like that.
And you got 5 roast beef sandwiches. I think if you wanted like beef and cheddar, it was like an upgrade. But that was fancy. Now, I would eat it because, growing up, whatever's put in front of you, you ate it or you went without.
That was another thing. Taco Bell. Back then, so, they brought back the Mexican pizza. That was a huge thing back in the 90s. Like that, I remember eating a lot of Mexican pizzas, but also before the chalupa, there was the gordita. See, the difference was that the gordita just had a soft, puffy bread that was not fried, crispy. It wasn't grilled or anything. Whereas the chalupa has crispy puff bread. So it's the same bread. It's just that they've crisped it up
how
a little
they
bit,
prepare it.
And but these days they only have the Supreme. Back then they had multiple different styles. One of them was the Baja. So it had a special Baja sauce that was like a creamy, zesty kind of a sauce on there, and it was a little bit different than the Supreme that we have today. And if you want something that's close to it, not exact, but very close to it, it'll cost you a little extra. But go down and get you a chalupa and ask for
it's like
jalapeno ranch.
Oh, yeah.
On it. And you can, I think you can choose whether you want them to leave the sour cream on there or not, but usually I leave the sour cream on there and have them add the jalapeno ranch in addition to that. And it makes it very close to how the Baja chalupa and gordita used to be like,
I feel like we're going to have to start doing food reviews. I know I have those topics on my list I'm just gonna have to start doing it. Maybe like each Friday seems how we've
giving out
gotten
all my food hacks.
Right. We're gonna have to just start bringing like our food truck reviews back because we go to food trucks. But anyways, I think one last one I have, and then in case you have a last one, is Braum's. Like I was saying, they would have like bag of burgers. Sorry, I'm not a big fan of Braum's burgers, but my favorite growing up in the 90s, and I haven't got it very much. I bought it for you once because you had never had it. Is their biscuit and gravy with hash browns.
Oh, yeah.
If you get their biscuit and gravy, it feels like home because you get it fresh and it's scalding hot with lots of pepper in it. But you get their hash browns and they're those little, do you call them like medallion? Or how do you call those little round shapes? I don't know, coin shapes. But you would pour your hash browns on top. And everyone I saw did this. And you put it on, it was salty, and you just ate it like that. And it was like sausage gravy. And we would get it off and on between that and the donut shop. Just hitting up Daylight Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
On the weekends, you got your donut holes and your sausage rolls and like going around garage selling. Like, perfect.
So, I got two last ones.
Okay.
You remember, Whataburger. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, Whataburger was a lot different inside. A lot of the food is very similar these days, but inside...
Maybe even better.
So, the one that was nearby here that we go to a lot, it's been around forever, but it had a aquarium in the center that was like a floor-to-ceiling aquarium where it had wood paneling up to about waist high.
Yeah.
And then from there up was like a solid aquarium. And they had like saltwater fish in there.
Wow.
And in a Whataburger. Yeah. And then that got taken out and you could still kind of see where it was. But then they changed layouts a few times and renovated the inside. And now you wouldn't be able to tell. But it used to be that they had little tables around the outside edge. And then...
Whataburger's one of our favorites, so...
Yep.
If you work there. Sponsors.
And then Burger Street.
Oh, why did I forget about Burger Street?
Man.
We still have them. And they still taste good.
They have managed... They struggled and survived through the slowest times and the most meager times. A lot of them closed down. A few of them even turned into... There was a Chinese company that started and bought up some of the old burger streets and called themselves Egg Roll Street. And I don't know how they've survived for the last 2 decades.
Because you never see that part of Mudville.
You never see anybody in the drive-thru. Never. I don't know how they still open.
Right.
But there's still a couple of them here in Tulsa that are still open. One of them, a year or two ago, a couple years ago, it caught fire and completely gutted the place. And they boarded it up, but
they brought it back.
They rebuilt it and they brought it back. So they didn't close down just because that fire gutted them out. And so we still have like 2 or 3 of them around in the Tulsa area. And man, there is something about that. It's like a char grilled patty that's like smashed into the griddle, And
you might like mustard, and I get that. I like mustard too, but you have to get mayo. And like their diced onions on that burger.
It's like mayo and diced onions and a little bit of mustard on there and some pickle.
They have their curly fries, but we tried their onion rings too, and their onion rings are pretty good.
Their onion rings were really good.
We always get their soft drinks, but I know a lot of people get their milkshakes.
Yeah, I hadn't had one in like probably 15, 16 years.
We got some
and we went to it
ago,
just a month or 2 ago, and oh man. So good. So good. That was pure nostalgia right there.
That's one that they don't have like this huge dining room inside. Like, it's literally a little,
it's
smaller
like,
than a coffee shop, I feel like.
It is like if you took the drive-through part of the kitchen out of a Burger King with the drive-through checkout and put a little tiny counter for walk-ins with a small little dining area that's about the size of maybe a bedroom.
I would even say
maybe even
bathroom.
Smaller. Yeah. Well, it's a little bit bigger than that. It's like a small bedroom, but like all the way around the outside edge, they just have a bar with stools. They don't have any tables really. Yeah. And you just walk in there, order, and if you're going to sit down, then you have to sit down on the bar stools.
Or some tables outside, but not very many.
So it's more intended for like, go through the drive-through, and if you want to eat it there, you sit in the parking lot and eat it.
Yeah, because I mean,
kind of a different take
I would
like
want to take it home, but once you get the food in your car, you're just like, might as well just sit here and eat it because it's not going to make it home. Yep. I'm going to be at every traffic light eating these curly fries. Like,
their curly fries are amazing. They got some seasoning on them.
No,
it makes Arby's look bad. It makes Checkers look bad. Those are good fries. Good. So that was my last one.
So there's a variety of places that we didn't even think about or didn't talk about, but we miss the 90s. I miss it. That was a great time. And I know I've heard from a lot of people that have been watching the show that, I miss the 70s. Like, my mom was talking about certain chips that she just wishes would come back. That they discontinued. So if there's decades that you want us to talk about and research, let me know. If there's things that, you grew up in the 90s that you want to share in the comment section, let's all chat about it and reminisce.
Yeah, she might grab a person who grew up in that era and have them on the show.
That would be fun. Even taking like different viewers and comments and giving them shout outs. I don't think we're going to have a part 4 of the 90s unless someone asks for a topic, but I'll have Hobby on again. I'm pretty sure I can convince him in some way, but let us know what you liked about the video. I hope you like, subscribe, and share. Like I said, on Tuesday, we have 20 subscribers. Slowly growing. Yeah. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Have a good one.
Bye.